They say life teaches us lessons until our very last breath. Some lessons are gentle, and some are unbearably cruel. This is the story of an old man who believed he had finally found comfort in the kindness of a young woman, only to learn that kindness was nothing more than a mask. Mr. Han was 74, a retired school teacher, widowed for nearly 10 years, living alone in a quiet neighborhood. His days were filled with reading old newspapers, tending to his small garden, and sitting on the bench in the park, where he once sat with his late wife. He had enough money to live modestly, enough food in the house, and enough books to keep his mind occupied. But what he didn't have was companionship. His greatest burden was loneliness. One rainy afternoon, he met her. A young woman, no more than 25, was caught in the downpour with a broken umbrella. She looked helpless, her hair wet, her white dress clinging to her frame. She asked politely if she could stand under his awning until the rain stopped. Mr. Han agreed, and the two began talking. Her name was Yuna, she said. She lived nearby. She was a student. She had no family in the city. That brief meeting turned into longer conversations. Soon she began visiting. Sometimes she brought small gifts cookies she claimed to have baked herself, a bag of tea leaves, or a bowl of warm soup. She smiled brightly and called him Teacher Han, a title no one had used in years. He found himself waiting for her visits. He began to feel alive again, as if fate had given him a second chance to be needed. As weeks turned into months, their bond grew stronger. He told her stories of his youth, of his wife, who had passed away, of the students he had once taught. She listened attentively, eyes wide, with admiration, nodding at the right moments, laughing at his old jokes. He began to think of her as the granddaughter he never had. But then the requests began. One evening, she confessed with a trembling voice that her tuition was overdue. If she couldn't pay, she said, she would be forced to abandon her studies. Tears welled in her eyes. Mr. Han, moved by her despair, opened his savings and handed her the money without hesitation. He told her that education was too important to give up, that she should think of him as her grandfather. She cried and thanked him, and he felt a sense of pride, a sense of purpose. Not long after, she returned with another story. Her landlord, she said, was threatening to evict her if she didn't pay the rent. Again, Mr. Han helped. Then came news of her sick mother in the countryside. Later, she said her younger brother needed surgery. Each story was more heartbreaking than the last, and each time Mr. Han opened his wallet, month by month his savings disappeared. His pension was spent, his emergency fund drained. Even the money he had set aside for his funeral costs was gone. But he told himself it wasn't a loss. This was love. This was family. Then one morning, Mr. Han decided to surprise Yuna with breakfast. He went to the address she had once written for him. When he knocked on the door, a stranger opened. The man inside looked confused. No one by the name of Yuna had ever lived there, he said. He had been renting the apartment for 6 months. Confused and panicked, Mr. Han went to the cafe where she claimed to work. The owner shook his head. No one named Yuna had ever worked there. Piece by piece, the truth fell into place. There was no tuition, no sick mother, no younger brother, no tragic stories, only lies. Back in his empty house, Mr. Han sat in silence. His savings were gone. But worse than the loss of money was the shattering of his trust. He had believed in kindness. He had believed in second chances. He had believed in human warmth. And now all of it had been stolen. The old man's story is not unique. Every year, countless elderly people fall victim to emotional fraud. Scammers do not always come with threats or violence. Sometimes they come with a smile, with soft words, with the promise of companionship. They know that loneliness can be more dangerous than hunger, and they know exactly how to exploit it. If you have parents, grandparents, or neighbors who live alone, talk with them, listen to them, remind them that they are not alone. Because sometimes, the most dangerous thieves are not the ones who break into houses, but the ones who quietly walk into hearts. This was the story of Mr. Han, the old man who trusted too much. May his story remind us all kindness is precious, but it must always walk hand in hand with caution.